Uh-oh.
Yeah, mine says this session is being recorded.
All right. Mine flashed and you all disappeared for a minute, so I thought I hung up on everybody. I'm still new to this technology, and sometimes it goes swimmingly, and sometimes David pushes wrong buttons. Um, One thing I wanted to show you and make sure this works. You should be able to see my computer screen,
Mm-hmm.
and I should have had you all register for this because the State Department's going through an accreditation process and they need documentation. So that's course number 106-9156. And if you all wouldn't mind registering for our conversation today, I'd appreciate it.
Okay.
So what I thought I would do today is actually a couple of things. I went through the account that you all are using. Is Mike Maddox still even there?
No, he's not.
Okay. Somebody typically in the health departments with the course provider accounts, there's usually four of those set up. There's one for environmental, there's one for nursing, and there's one for preparedness, and then there's one for what we're calling HR, and that's HR one's the one we're managing all the training plans in, and the surveys and so forth are being managed through that account too. And I think you're using Mike's account for your training plans.
I
And
don't know how that happened. Jennifer was here then, Jennifer Gully.
yep,
And I don't know how it ended up with all of our like annual trainings and stuff being on the preparedness.
yeah. So we can just rename that one at some point and just call it the HR account. But then somebody has to draw a short straw probably and put their email in there. Is this the only other change? The rest of that account would remain the same, though they're kind of set up in a unique way. I
Whenever
wanted to.
just let me know, we can put me in there as the
Okay,
yeah.
okay. You can do that easily.
Okay.
So a couple of things I wanted to address before we jump right into the spreadsheets, and it gives me an excuse to drink another cup of coffee. Is the and see David's talking and clicking the wrong things here. There we go. One thing is, and I think you're all aware of this, is Train is going through a transition this year, and it started at the first of the year where they've moved Train to a whole new platform, and in this year of transition, they've only got part of it built out, and that's what the learner sees. But the administrative side of Train is not built out yet, and so some of the states and CDC have jumped onto the new platform, and they've gotten their new URL and so forth, and their new branding. And I told them, Public Health Foundation, that I want to hold off until they get this thing completely built out before we transition all the ways over to it. But in the meantime, this is what the new Train looks like after you log into it. And the national address is www.train.org. I think a majority of people are using this site now, and which is kind of funny because we didn't do really any advertising or much promoting of it yet. At some point at the end of the year or the first of next year, we'll get our own URL. It will be different than the one we're currently using. I think it will be this www.train.org/KY, I think is what we'll end up having to go to. At some point when people log into the old Train site, they'll be pushed over to this new site, and automatically when they log in. They're going with this new tile look and kind of in your training status of courses you recently uh, participated in. Up here at the top, you've got your learning, and that's where you got your current courses, training plans, and certificates. Courses, I was going to just show you in case you haven't seen one. Let me find one of our courses, maybe.
David, would be seeing your computer now?
Oh, yes, you should be, and you're not, right?
Yeah.
Is that what you're going to tell me? Okay. All right. What do you see now?
Now we got it.
Okay. So this is new train. This is old train homepage. So it's changed quite a bit. And again, it's www.train.org. And you can go to that site. You can log in with your account and so forth. So at the announcement section is a little bit smaller. There's a notification section here, training status. These are courses that I'm in the middle of, and training plans I'm in the middle of, and certificates are here. At the top, there's kind of like the whole train course catalog. My Learning has changed into Your Learning. And so when you click on Your Learning, there's a list of your courses alphabetically. If I click on any of these courses, and let me make sure I get one of ours. This is one of ours. This looks a lot different than, let me show you what it currently looks like for comparison. So this is what, when you go to a course, this is what it currently looks like. In New Train, this is what it looks like. All the information and the processes will be there. The course description, you click more, and there's the course objectives and all that additional information. You control the course here at the top. I'm to the point in this course that I've completed the content, and I've actually marked myself completed. But here I can click this and we'll start the assessment. And even that process has changed a little bit. It's not a separate window anymore. And so that gets rid of the pop-up windows and all of that. So it's people have been using it, like it, and again, you're more than welcome to start using that if you haven't already. It's www.train.org. I say again, the administrative side of Train, here's where we've got the administrative link. Like in our current Train, we've got administration up here. When you click this, it just takes you to old Train. It takes you to the administrative side of Train, and that's the part that they're telling us it'll be fall before this will be. They're building out the administrative side. It'll be fall before we know what it looks like. I say all this to say I don't know if they're changing all this stuff, if they're changing how you're going to use your training plans and these surveys and self-assessments. I have no idea what it's going to look like when they get through with it until the first of next year. And so everything I'm going to show you today about the self-assessment may change when you go to use it next year, and that's just kind of a caveat, I guess. Is there any questions about that?
No.
No, not for me.
Okay. I wanted to just, again, before we jump into this survey or self-assessment, I wanted to kind of take a brief moment to talk about where it's coming, where it's possibly going to. FAB, of course, in their 8.1.2.1a, I think it is, point out that you should be assessing your employees on a periodic basis. And of course, I think at one point we tried to do that once. We had thoughts of maybe doing that once a year and tying that into, the employee would take a self-assessment, kind of come up with a training plan, and then at the end of the year, in their annual, as part of their annual review, the manager would sit down and say, okay, this is the areas you're going to do some improvement on this year, and looking at your training transcript, I see that you took some courses that supported that, and so that individual would have an opportunity every year to kind of take a stock where they're at, kind of come up with a game plan for some curriculum, and kind of all this documentation would be handled through train. And I actually, when FAB first formed, I was invited to a think tank with Kate Bender, and we had actually sat down and talked about this, and she really supported this whole concept, and I think it finally, the Council on Linkage and that competency set found its way as being recommended, or not recommended, but referenced in FAB, but of course they'll accept any national competency standards. And so from that, I started working with Janet Place at UNC, and Janet had created this self-assessment tool based on the competencies. And at the same time, I joined a committee as part of the Council on Linkages Competencies, started having conversations about the competency sets and so forth. And then we started talking also at the same time with the folks with Healthy People 2020, and they started referencing the Council on Competencies. And through all this, we came up with this first tool that we used in 2013, the first self-assessment survey. And then the University of Kentucky got involved. Dr. Knight actually was the first person I was working with that started working with Janet's tool, and we released in 2013 a statewide self-assessment on the competencies. And it was still a little difficult. I think the language in it and so forth was a little bit difficult. And I know that recently in 2015, Randy and Jessamine County teamed up with the UK, and they rewrote the self-assessment set again. And I think they've done a pretty good job with it. They've made the language, the competencies a little bit more understandable, and I think it's a step in the right direction. I say all that, there's even conversations of further refining that language and those competencies, and possibly of more changes coming with that whole self-assessment tool. That was a lot of confusing words I just said, but I'm just trying to let you know that this thing's kind of still that's in transition too, and I'm not sure next year what that possibly would look like, because the council again is under reviewing the whole. Every few years they review all those competencies too, and the last major change they made was coming up with a tier system of the tier 1, tier 2, and tier 3. So it's kind of like that's another. So train is changing. These competencies and self-assessments are changing too. Any of that make sense?
Yeah.
Everybody awake still?
Yeah.
Amy, Amy joined us.
Hello.
Hello, welcome.
Thank you. I'm sorry I'm late.
No problem. No problem. And you're able to see the my computer okay? My computer screen?
No, I see you, but I don't see anything else.
Really? Okay. How about now?
Now I don't see either.
Good. Great. I love it when it all works out.
I liked it better the other way because I could see you in a little box, but I could see your screen like almost
Okay.
full size. Yeah, that looks good. But
Okay.
Amy, are you getting anything at all?
I see David, but I don't see, like in the background, I don't see a computer or anything.
I should be a small box, and there should be my computer screen. You should be able to see.
I see the small box of you, but not the computer screen.
I wonder if I'm hidden behind another screen that's like the webinar screen, maybe that's up.
Yeah, the webinar screen is up. That might be.
Maybe
This is my first time doing this, so that could be the problem.
Okay. No, it's fun. Yeah. And there's differences. This is GoToMeeting, where we can talk back and forth and share. And then there's GoToWebinar that we also use, like in Joy's nursing updates, and that's more like a broadcast out. And so it's all we're learning too. But once it works, it seems like it's the next step above video conferencing. You don't have to go anywhere. You're right at your desk. And actually, this works really good if you got iPhone or Android phones too. This works extremely well. Are you seeing it yet?
No. I'm afraid to do too much of anything and lose you completely.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll go on. But this is
Okay.
the part of the session where we're going to kind of jump into the survey tool itself. So with the self-assessment, with Mike Maddox's account that you're using, you should have access to the survey results. And so I'm going to walk you through that process. I'm on the home page of Train, and you would click on Administration, and you would click on Reports, and then there's Survey Results. And the surveys has a drop down of all the surveys. It looks like we started this in 2012, 2013. That was the original survey that we did with North Carolina and UK. Helped us kind of refine it. And then there's the 2015 and 2016 surveys, which were refined a little bit further. And they're broken down. These are statewide, and they're broken down by the tiers. So we got public health professionals and support staff, the directors and senior leaders, and the managers and supervisors. And those tiers, and so the first thing that people had to decide is where they fit into when they were taking those surveys. And I don't think we really had much problem there. Where the problem becomes, so if I select a 2016 managers and supervisors and just click export, I get a giant Excel spreadsheet that's a gazillion, I'm not sure how many, let's just go down to 18,783 rows. So it's a huge spreadsheet of data, but this is statewide data. One of the questions I asked was on the surveys, you had to select a drop down of your health department, and so I'm able to pull out Montgomery's folks out of this big survey, and here's a tab that shows just the people from Montgomery. This is health professionals and support staff results is what this is.
How did you get to that, David?
I'm sorry?
How did you get to that? How would we get Montgomery County out of that?
Well, what we're going to do the next time I think we run one of these surveys is we're going to create a survey just for Montgomery County. And I say we're going to do that. I really meant you are going to do that with my help. And I think we just copy and we'll figure that process out, but that shouldn't be that big of a deal. I think we just copy the 2016 survey and you make it your own for just your health department, just visible for your health department. But for the ones we've done in the past, I had to, it takes a little bit of maneuvering to pull all that data out. What I did is I sorted this survey by answers, and I came up with, and then I took out just the people that answered that they were with Montgomery. Each user has a unique ID, and then I would do a search by that ID, and I would do a sort, and I would take out, here's all those people with the ID 46769, and then I would copy them over into a separate spreadsheet, and I just did that for each one. So I would start here, search by an ID, and end up here pasting all those ID answers. And it took about 30 minutes to do it. It wasn't that big of a deal. But moving forward in next surveys, instead of doing just one survey that the whole world participates in, I'm envisioning kind of like training plans. You just kind of get your own survey. We can create the master survey that everybody can just kind of copy and use in their own accounts and for their own health department to eliminate all these steps. Again, the caveat is as train transitions to the new train, I don't know what they're going to do to the survey tool. I don't know how it's going to change. So I'm kind of having to wait on that a little bit too. Once I've got everybody from Montgomery on one sheet, across the top here, I've got the questions that were asked, and then I have the percentage of how those questions were answered by 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Remember, it's a Likert scale that they're rating themselves on. So the questions is how this page is also sorted. And we have here 1A1, which is simply, this is simple. Where did I write that down? 1 is the domain 1. A is tier 1, and then the 1 is the actual individual competency. So when we go to tier 2, this would be 1B1, and tier 3 is 1C1. So A, B, and C equals the 1, 2, 3 tiers. The one, each tier has 8 domains, and so it's just then going down this page, you'll go 1 through 8, and then the individual competencies themselves. When I come over here to the percent column, so this first question was describe, this is in domain 1, describe factors affecting the health of a community. Well, when I look over here, we've got 8% of the respondents of your health department said they were novice. 16% said that they were rated themselves between novice and competent. And the majority of your folks, 47%, said they were competent, and then 22% said that they were heading towards expert. You actually got 5% that thought they were experts with this. So that's how the percentages break down for each individual competency that they were rating themselves to. You could take, and I didn't do the math on this yesterday, but you could look at the overall percentages for the whole domain, and those percentages, then you could come up with a percentage for the whole domain by looking at all the individual percentages. That takes a little bit more Excel spreadsheet math to do that, but it shouldn't be, it's not that big of a deal. And that's what and this is the exact process that UK uses when they first used Train in 2012, 2013. This is kind of the process they went through, and then they created all those fancy charts for you all, and came around the state, hand delivered those charts, and had those regional meetings with health departments. And this is kind of what they did. But you're just basically, I mean, that's kind of it in a nutshell. Is you're just taking each question and looking at the percentages. So I could say for this first competency, I mean, you can break out a little bell curve for it. Does this make sense? Yeah, I know. I feel that pain. So what I gave you is this spreadsheet, right? I've given you this information.
Yes, I have it.
Okay.
I haven't seen it, but I can get it from Carissa if I need it.
Okay.
So
And I think, Chris, I did in your spreadsheets, I did break the percentages down by domain too. Did I not? Did I go that far with it, or did I just give you raw data?
It looked like raw data to me, but let me see if I can find it real quick. Maybe I can get it pulled up.
Okay.
David, can anybody get access to this, or do you have to have administrative rights to get access to this?
You've got, through your account, you can pull up these results.
Okay.
But you're going to pull up originally this 19,000 row data sheet.
But Carissa already has just our information.
Right.
Okay.
I think I pulled out, I'm pretty sure I did that.
Okay.
I didn't do that for every health department. I know that Louisville Metro needed theirs because I think they're using this data and somehow with the EFAB or
It's kind of crazy.
So I'm hoping in Train, they call it Train 3.0, and they call the old Train Classic Train. I hope this side of it gets a little bit easier than what they currently have. I like that you can get raw data, but I wish they could create better reports, easier reports too. Amy, did you ever see any of this on your screen at all?
Yes, I was thinking it was my computer screen, and I didn't realize you had control. So I've had it the whole time. I was embarrassed to speak up.
Oh, no, sorry. Okay. Good.
I was looking for a small screen like the one you're in.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Not a large one. Okay.
Yeah.
Can you read it okay?
Yes.
Wow, okay. Good.
So right now I'm looking at the Tier 1 sheet that you sent.
Okay. Okay.
And it looks like it goes up to like 2,277.
Okay.
So it's huge, but
Yeah, okay. Let me see. I think this sheet here goes up to, 1932. So it's kind of big. Okay.
yeah.
So I think the first thing I did on that huge sheet is I sorted by answer. And so there's an answer ID, and then there's an answer. And all I did is clicked up here on answer, and then I went to sort A through Z. And if I scroll all the ways down to the, well, actually, I don't have to do that with this. Hold on. Let me undo that. Okay. I've gotten all the user IDs. So I did a custom sort. That's what I did. And that's under sort, custom, and I think I sorted by question, values A to Z, and then I added a level and I sorted by answer, values A to Z, and said okay. And that gave me all the 1As all together, and it gave me the answers, so it put the 1 through 5 in order, and it grouped everybody so that I knew, and so and then I copied this all over to a new page, so, and color coded it. So domain 1, tier 1, question 1 were all in order. The answers were grouped together, so the people that selected 1, selected 2, and so forth are all grouped together, and then I could see the percentages over here. And that way I knew that 8% selected novice, 47% selected competent, and 5% selected that they were experts. So that's all you would have to do with that sheet, is just do a custom sort.
Okay.
And then by question, and then the defaults of sort on values and order are just defaults, don't do, and then add a level and sort by answer, and again the values in A to Z are just there by default, and click OK. And just so that in our conversation today that it'll be a little bit more legible, I just went down and like each group of questions, like this first competency, I just made it green so you could see it. And then you could go down, because it's sorting in order, the 10th competency shows up next on the 11th, 12th competency, 13th, 14th, and then it jumps back to 2, because it's just the way Excel's looking at the numerical alphabetical order of all this stuff. So the second competency identifies quantitative and qualitative data information. So that is all through here, and I'll just make that a color so we can see it. I could have done a little bit darker color. And we've got, so in this one, 13% selected 1, 18% novice, in between novice and competent, 46% were competent in this, 6% were as experts. You can then take those, I mean, it will take a little bit of time, but you could take each one of these questions and those percentages and transpose that to another sheet. And then you can start looking at those domains overall and those percentages overall. You can start getting averages for the overall domain. So you would you would look at one on a new sheet. You would do the question, and then you would do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You'd probably have to do it across, actually. And then you would start adding the percentages for each of the questions. And then down here, you could actually get an overall as you start filling in all these, each of your questions, the overall. So let's just grab one. This is, I'll just round them up. This first question is 8%. So question 1 is, you got 8%, you've got 16%, 47%, 4 was 22%, and 5%. And if you started doing that for each question, or for each competency, say the second one was, you had 5, 18, 46, 19, 3. You know, like I said, this will take a little bit to do this because you're going to go through 88 questions. But then for each domain, once you get to an end of a domain, now you can just start taking averages. So now you can get an average. So let's see. I think if you just equals average, boom, boom. Oh yeah, why not? Yes. And then I could just copy that across. Bloop, bloop. All right. So now I would know if I had all 16 answers here, I would start getting an overall average for the domain. And then for those that really are crazy with Excel, you can easily turn this into you can insert a graph there too. I'm making this way more complicated than it is, but that's kind of the process though.
Okay.
Does that make sense at all?
Yeah.
And when you actually get to doing this, we can do this over the phone and I can help you too. But
yeah.
That's basically, that's the two-step process. Is you first got to take that information and do the custom sort, and then you got to start transposing these numbers for each domain. You just got to go down for each question, grab the percentages, go down to the next question, grab the percentages, and put them over on another sheet. And then once your 1A's turn into 2's, then 2A's, and then all the 1's will be over here, and you want to pause and do an average. Then you start doing the 2's, pause, average. And then you get a nice picture of what's happening at the health department. And those overall results haven't changed. We're all great communicators, supposedly, and we're all lousy in math and science. But that's kind of how that works. Now, what do you do with that information? And that's been the biggest question. One thing that I've been really pleased with is CDC. And CDC has put together, I think they've done some of their finest works, but I know those folks too. They've put together a Public Health 101 series. And I think this would be a great start. Nothing found. Great. Let's go to the course catalog. Search for Public Health 101. And here's their series, and they've got it broken down. So surveillance, informatics, introduction to public health, laboratories, preparedness, mentoring, epidemiology, prevention. Um, I, I think those are places that address some of those core competencies, and I think CDC's done a nice job with these. Um, Amy, this is the Train 3.0, or the new version of Train they rolled out, that's rolling out this year. And so the learner side of this is mostly built out. I think I heard that the conference package is kind of in process right now, but through the year this will be, they're continuing to build it, but we can use it, and a lot of employees are using it. But you can launch those courses from here. Once you can mark yourself completed from here and do any evaluations or assessments. This will all change right here. But
Great.
that's one thing that, and the competencies that they're addressing. There's some tier 1 and tier 2 competencies that they're addressing. So once employees have done these assessments, trying to find content that will address some areas that they want to build on is kind of the next thing. And it doesn't have to be formal training. I mean, we're starting to see and hear more conversations about lifelong learning, and maybe they're learning from articles that they're reading. Maybe they're starting to find other things on the internet. Maybe they're watching YouTube videos that actually address some of these competencies. Maybe they're reading books. Maybe they're attending meetings and things that, there's just maybe they're learning from each other. And so those are things that we need to start thinking about too, and some of that stuff can be added to Train for documentation, because at the bottom, even in My Learning Now, I said at the bottom, course it's not there, you can add non-trained courses somewhere in here. Maybe it's under your transcript. Add an external record. So I can start adding things that I participated in or did, and I can do that's outside of Train. I can add this here, and it becomes part of my transcript. And that's when you start capturing some of those other activities, which is something to think about too. Questions? Have I freaked you all out?
No, I really love the new Train site.
Good, good. Yep, start using it. Start using it. Creating accounts is breathtaking. When you go to create a new account, so when you come to Train, it's actually got a little video. It's got some more videos, and look at this. You go to www.train.org, create an account. You got a login name, password, email address, first and last name, time zone, and zip code. Agree, create, boom, baba bing, you're done.
It's much easier than the old one.
Yeah. Now, the sad part about it though is once you go to register for a course, it's going to ask you for some additional information, and it's going to bring you to this screen that looks like this, and it'll make you select a group again. your account, contact. It'll ask you to fill in some of this stuff that will start looking familiar, but at least you can, for the most part, you can get in and start using Train without going through. But down the road, it's going to ask you to select Montgomery County as a group, and it's going to ask you some of those things that we're used to, but not all at once. And so it just makes life a lot easier.
The things that we did on the old Train, or will that be on this as well?
Most of it will be. It just, like my learning has become your learning, which
Yeah.
The course catalog is kind of where you can, it lists courses alphabetically, but you can still search them out. You search them out by the course ID. There will still be the mark yourself completed and the assessment and evaluation, but that'll be all done all on one page, and it won't be a lot of, I don't think they use pop-ups anymore, and so then your training plans, of course, are listed here under your learning and your certificates and transcripts, and so I think a lot of that will be just a lot easier.
So it carries over from what we've done.
Yep,
Yes,
yeah.
that's what okay.
I'm sorry, yeah, it'll, whatever's in process or whatever you've done will show up. Yep, and I haven't run into any of those issues yet. So if you started using this today, everything should be there.
Okay.
Your certificates, I think that behaves a little bit differently. You can just download them. So yeah, it's pretty slick. Your training plans are still there and so forth. But the course management is what I've liked. Let's see, please submit a review. Let's cancel that. But I can just launch this evaluation. And when I do that, there it is. And I can just close it. There I am. So it all does it. The screen refreshed, but it wasn't a separate pop-up window and everything. So there's a little arrow there. I can launch the course or the evaluation. So
it looks a lot more user-friendly.
It is. I think they've done a good job of that and cleaned it up a lot. So yeah.
Can you, while you're on here, can you look at our like managing our training courses? Like if I want to go on there and look and see who has completed their annual trainings, can you look at that from where you are?
I can't do it in the new train, but I can in the old train. So on Mike's account, you would go to master or manage your training plans from the home page. These are all sorted alphabetically. What I tend to do is, I've been playing around with this, hold on. Is the first thing I do is I change all to, or 20 rows to all. I just get them all in one row just so I can see them.
It's under Montgomery County, what was it? Employees Annual Training 2017 or something like that.
Okay. Oh, you know what? I'm sorry. Ignore everything I said. Homepage. Master Training Plan Record. Boom. From this drop down, I find Montgomery. And LM. Okay, there's the Montgomerys. We've got annual employee training with no date on it, but here's maybe this Montgomery County Employee 2017 Annual.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay. I'm going to do a start date of January 1, and I'm going to do an end date of today. I'm going to leave all the other defaults and create report. Now, this is kind of a cool page. It's a little bit, navigation's a little weird. This is page 1 of 2 question marks, so this is probably more than 2 pages. And here I can go to the next page. So it's telling me there's 10 courses in this plan. 41 people are registered for it. 2 people have completed the plan, Jennifer and Emily. Cheers. 32 people have are in progress. So there's Mary and Virginia, and if I click the next page arrow up here, it starts showing me everybody else and everybody else. And then at the end of this, so we're up to page 4. That's why with a question mark, page 5, page 6, and then at the end, oh, come on, Mary Baker, you can do better than this. And so these people haven't even started yet. They probably they might not even.
In there, that's what I didn't put the beginning and end date, so it was like showing me
The
2016
world.
and
Well,
yeah. Okay.
What I find strange about this is that Mary Baker has completed everything, and so has Amy Conley. So I don't know why it's showing that way.
Because the public health orientation course is listed on there, and
Oh,
so I need to go in our training plan and take that out.
okay.
Now the other thing is this little cassette thing, down arrow. You can download a XML or an Excel, and that might be easier to read. And that's what I usually do. So there's the XML, and oh, it did it on one spreadsheet, so you can see everybody.
Okay. So I can go back now to that training plan, and I can edit and remove the one that's expired, can't I?
Yes. Yes.
That will change the ones that it's saying that's not completed, that
Yep.
because it's expired, so they're not going to be able to complete it. So that'll change those.
Yep. It'll automatically do that. So
Okay.
you're going to remove this one here.
Yes.
And that's
Take a
easy
look
to
at
take
it.
out. Now, what you might think about is replacing that with that CDC Public Health 101.
I made a note of that, actually.
Okay, that's a little bit longer, but it's good. I think they've done a nice job with it.
And we just
All
do
of
that
these are
here, so.
okay. I think all of these kind of, this one's not available either.
Right.
The
Those last two are not.
last
Is
two.
there anything else to?
I don't have any replacement for this one.
Okay, I looked and I couldn't find anything.
Yeah,
And that's what I think we really need to have every year.
Yep.
I wish they would come out with a new
A
one.
new replacement. You can look at other people's plans too, like Lake Cumberland's or somebody else's plans, and see what they've done, because I know some plans are, people go crazy. Let me see. If I go to manage your training plans, some health departments, like this is the Lake Cumberland's, they kind of break it down by positions. But you can look at the edit components. You can look and see what they've done. Well, that's nice. There's nothing in there. Okay. 2017. They might be just. I know well, there's some other health departments too. You just kind of scroll through here. You can see what other people have done, and get some ideas, steal some ideas. Gateway's got a lot of stuff too. Just see what this one has. Huh. That's pretty cool. It's expired, but and so anyways, just yeah. The biggest thing is the naming convention, is starting everything out so that they all stay grouped together.
I think you used that for me, because I think last year Jennifer started it with like 2016 instead of starting it with Montgomery County.
Right.
A little more difficult to find. Yeah.
But in yours, when you log in with your account, you can just click on My Training Plans Only, and it'll only show yours up here at the top. So that'll help you too.
But now to get to that, I need to go in under Mike's
account, right. And then that Mike's email address just needs to be replaced.
Okay.
And when you do that, you might get an email from Train wanting to confirm it, or have a validation link or something like that in it.
Okay.
So, and then these plans on that export, one of the options is to export it as a PDF. And Rebecca Beard over at um, Green River District takes that report and sends it up to EFAB. I don't know if she does the same with the survey or not, or the I call it Train calls that self-assessment as a survey function or surveys, and but that's where those self-assessments are built. And see, these self-assessments, I'm pretty sure I can make these things. I think I have the ability to copy them, and so there'd be one in here. There'd be three in here actually. That would be your alls, and you all would just use. And I'll just have to. I have to kind of wait and see what Train 3.0 is going to do with this before I can kind of move forward with that. But I'm hoping in years to come that kind of like the training plans are your own training plans and those reports are your own reports. I'm hoping that the survey functions the same way, where they become just your own. And I hope the reports become a little bit more sophisticated so it'll be easier for you. I've kept you all on the phone for an hour. Have I answered questions for you? Has this been helpful?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Is there more questions or other things you want to look at while we're here?
I think I'm good for right now until I get a chance to go back and look at that one orientation training and try to edit that to fit us.
Okay. Okay. And again, I'll help you any way on that I can. Okay. And keep in mind too, the whole module idea and custom modules for your alls. We got some ways to handle that too. So if you've got some specific trainings geared to your health department, you want them to be online, have some conversations with me about that too.
Okay.
We're starting to do that more and more just because our technology and software has gotten easier. So, okay.
Appreciate your help.
Well, I appreciate your time.
Helping us out today.
Okay. And don't forget to register for this wonderful training we did today.
106-9156, right?
Sounds good. Let me double check. 106
9156.
Yay. Yes, when you go to that and you click registration, register for the internet for 421. Right there, there'll be a little short evaluation afterwards, and appreciate your feedback. And I hope this webinar technology works out. I hope you have opportunities to continue to participate in webinars. And again, if you have an iPhone or an Android or even a tablet, it works extremely well that way too. And I've actually participated a couple of times using my iPhone and liked it a lot. So with that, guys, happy Friday. Have a good week. And
Thank you.
Alrighty. And I'll figure out how to, and this will be recorded, and I'll send you the link to that, and we'll just go from there.
Sounds good. Thank you so much.
Alrighty, guys.
Thank you. Have a good day.
You too. Bye now.